Hello, my name is Chris Betts. I'm a Senior Systems Engineer on the VMware End-User Computing team, and what I'd like to talk to you about and demo for you today pertains to a very unique way that VMware can deliver secure role-based desktops. Basically, at a very high level, what this means is that I can dynamically provide you with a virtual desktop instance from a single pool by role, while providing real-time application delivery, again based off of my role. And regardless of what type of user I am, I can then dynamically micro-segment that desktop, again by role, on the network. So I'm going to discuss and demo how we do all of this with 4 VMware products. This is going to include NSX 6.1.3, which is a network virtualization platform that is ultimately going to provide us the dynamic micro-segmentation I mentioned. What NSX does for us is it allows us to virtualize things like physical routers, switches, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and load balancers. The next product that will be included in my discussion and demo today is Horizon 6.1, and more specifically a component that we call View, which will deliver our virtual desktop infrastructure. Next, we will also include App Volumes 2.6, which provides us real-time application delivery and also allows us to dynamically assign applications to specific users, groups, or devices. And last but not least, vSphere, which is our industry-leading server virtualization platform. So before we get into a demo, I'd like to talk to a couple of slides that show how VDI deployments are done today and how VMware is changing this model for tomorrow. So let's talk about a traditional VDI deployment. Typically we have different zones based off different security needs, access requirements, or some line of business that says we have to have these zones, right? Zones like corporate zones or HR zones, engineering zones, or financial zones. And once these zones have been established, we have to make VDI work within the constraints of these zones. Because many of these zones are typically controlled through a series of firewalls and routers and switches, physical mind you, we can start to imagine how complicated this gets. So let's move this down and add on a virtual environment with a number of hosts. So you can see here we've got VMware vSphere, and if we take our hosts down here and centralize these hosts and add a couple of VDI desktop pools to the top, we start to see that the hosts through our routers, switches, and firewalls need to traverse through a series of different hops to make things happen. And once we start to add our VDI desktops, you can see that it becomes very complex, connecting our VDI desktops to these physically separated zones. Now when we look at this and what NSX does for us, it provides us with all those same physical network services and allows us to centralize those physical objects too. It really simplifies things for VDI. With NSX being the control plane that resides between the hypervisor and the virtual machine, it allows us to dynamically control our network services within the virtual environment by making all of our switches and routers and firewalls logical units that we can again dynamically distribute throughout the environment. Now, aside from the networking side of the house, if we look at the management side of the house, traditionally in Horizon View we manage our VDI desktops by pools, and we align those pools with the different zones or organizations throughout the business. So we'll typically have a task worker pool or a power user desktop or an IT admin desktop, and with those pools we'll have a variety of different applications that we lay on top of that. And at the end of the day, as you start to increase your pool size, it just becomes a little more difficult to manage. And so why not deliver those services based on user or their organizational role? Because really at the end of the day, it's all about the user, right? So with new technologies like App Volumes and NSX, we can really decouple those things from the image and then scale down our pool size to a single pool and then dynamically overlay those services on top of the image. Let's take a different look at exactly what I'm talking about. So in this picture here you can see that we've got a universal desktop pool that can service a magnitude of different users, right? So here we have a user and an administrator who obviously have different roles on the network, and when they log into the same exact pool, App Volumes dynamically assigns them their applications, and with NSX dynamically segments them to the network resources that they need to do their jobs. So again, there's multiple use cases served from one pool. It reduces operational expenditures, and at the end of the day, it really does reduce the complexity in managing your VDI infrastructure. Okay, so let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and log into a View client here on my Mac. And before I demo the different role-based logins, I'm just going to log in with my own account to give you an idea of what it takes to run all this stuff, and how easy it is really to associate all these different technologies to support role-based desktops. So first I'm going to show you an Active Directory here. I've created 2 users. Get here. So you can see I have an admin and a user account, and I've associated those users or joined those users to these 2 security groups. I have an admin security group and I have a user security group, NSX user and NSX vAdmin. And throughout the demo I'll be using these VDI instances that are managed through View. So if we look at NSX and click on the Networking and Security tab and then Service Composer and open up the Security Groups tab, you can see within NSX I have created 2 security groups that align with the Active Directory security groups I just showed you. So here we have NSX vAdmin and NSX vUser, and again I've aligned those with the admin and user groups in Active Directory. And if we open up the firewall here, you can see that I've got a number of different firewall rules that help me manage my Horizon View environment. And just to touch on a few, some of the rules that I've set up disable things like ICMP or internet access or prevent a user from being able to ping, and I'll demonstrate those here in a second. But you can see here the security groups I created in NSX help me control the different firewall policies and allow me to dynamically assign those to user roles. So one component I didn't mention in the slides is a component called guest introspection. Now through NSX I can deploy guest introspection to a cluster, which in this case I've deployed it to cause control. And what that allows me to do is through VMware tools I can deploy a guest introspection driver, which ultimately installs a mini NSX agent that does all the login statistics for me. And in this case what it's providing me is the Active Directory security group that I'm a member of that I can then pass through NSX and assign to my firewall rules. If we look at View here, the desktop pool we'll be using in the demo is EUC NSX demo. You can see here we have a display name of EUC NSX demo, and these align with the VDI desktops that I showed you in Active Directory, and the entitlements I have here are for vUser and vAdmin. If we look at app volumes, I've broken up the applications according to role. So in this case, both users will get entitled the core applications. So you can see here NSX, vAdmin, and vUser. And then we have other applications like Office 2013 that only the user needs, as you can see here. And then the same goes for the admin side of the house. We have provisioned some admin tools that only the admin needs. And again, if we look back at Active Directory, everything is based off these 2 security groups, and it's what's providing us our role within the organization. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to another VDI instance and into that EUC NSX demo pool with my NSX user account. Type in my password. And again, as I'm logging in here, just keep in mind that this is the exact same pool that I'm logging into with 2 different accounts. So as I log into EUC NSX demo, you can see here that I have a personalized background, and you can see that I've got a number of applications installed. And I'll open up the control panel here just to show you all those applications. So you can see here I have my core apps, and then I have my individual apps, in this case Office 2013. So go ahead and close this here. And although I've had the necessary applications provisioned to me, I found a way to put PuTTY on the desktop, which is not an application that was provisioned to me. And because on the NSX side of the house we're preventing SSH session for users on the network, you'll see here that an SSH session with PuTTY will fail. As that's waiting to time out, I will go ahead and open up a command prompt here. I've also disabled ping, so here I'm trying to ping VMware.com. And as a user, I just can't ping anything outside of or inside of the network. Oh, and you can see here that my SSH session failed, so that's working. And you can see here if I try to ping another demo box, this will fail too. And again, this is all based off of the restrictions on the firewall policies that, it sees me as a user, and because I'm a user, I don't have the ability to use those tools like an admin would. However, I can still do things like browse the internet. So here I'll go to VMware.com, and you can see that I can get there no problem. Just to show you host name here, you can see that I am logged on to demo02. So let's do the same thing for an admin account. Go ahead and open up a view client again, and like I said, we're going to log in as admin this time. Close these here. Now you can see because I have a different set of entitlements, I have way more things available to me. But I'm going to go ahead and log into the same exact EUC NSX demo pool, just like I did with the user account. And you'll see here, once I open up the control panel, that I have a totally different set of applications now provisioned to me. Again, all based off an Active Directory security group. So if I open up programs and features here, you can see that I have the core apps installed, but I don't have Office 2013 installed. And if we look at some of the admin tools that I've loaded, you can see that this is drastically different than what we had with our user experience. Now here I've deployed PuTTY as part of the admin tools, and because I'm an admin, I now have the ability to SSH into one of my hosts, and you can see that here. Again, all based off an Active Directory security group, and because I have a firewall policy that allows me to SSH into my hosts, simply type in my password here and establish a SSH session. Alright, so I'll go ahead and minimize this, and unlike I could do with a user account, we restrict access from an admin account being able to browse the internet. So again, here I'm going to VMware.com, and you'll see this will eventually time out, and while we're waiting on that to time out, I'll go ahead and open up a command prompt. And from a command prompt, unlike the user, you can see that I can now ping things like VMware.com or another VDI instance on the network. And you can see in the background there that VMware.com just timed out. See here I'm getting a response back from another demo machine, and if we look at the host name on this guy, you can see that I'm on demo 03, which again is a member of the same exact pool that I logged into with my user account. So flipping back to our slide here, you can see that we demonstrated this exact use case, the difference being between a user and an admin logging in. So hopefully at a very high level, this demonstrated how you can dynamically provide a virtual desktop instance from a single pool by role while providing real-time application delivery based off that role, and then also dynamically distributing firewall policies to that VDI instance to either allow or restrict access to certain network resources within the environment. So with that, thanks for watching and have a great day.